right, well, welcome everyone to the December SCC meeting. So we will call the meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. And can we get a roll call, please? Do I start with that?
Normally, the secretary would call the roll.
Okay.
Yep, working on it. So, chair.
Jen Leatherberry here.
All right, vice chair.
Jen
Paul
Leatherberry
Barreco,
here.
I'm present.
All right, vice chair.
Paul Barreco, I'm present.
And secretary Jason Bruce, I am also present. And
Secretary
treasurer
Jason Bruce, I am also present. Treasurer.
Dan John, I'm here. Dan John, I'm here.
All right, CD1, Mr. Curfees.
CD1, Nick Curfees here.
CD1, Mr. Curfees.
CD1,
Nick Curfees here.
All right, hang on real quick. Is anyone
CD3, James St. John?
All right, hang on real quick.
So I'm getting like 4 different echoes here. Is that me or?
I received it also.
Yeah, it's not just you.
Okay, Mr. St. John, I saw you were here. CD4. All right. Mark CD4 absent. CD5 is currently vacant. We've already heard from CD6, Mr. Maurice. So CD7, Mr. Norton.
You're muted, David.
Yep, I see you're online.
Sorry, I double unmuted myself, muting myself again. David Norton, CD7, present.
All right, number 8.
Logan Hoy, present.
And CD9.
Austin Craig, present.
CD10. Mark, Mr. Frazier is absent. And CD11, Mr. Porter.
Stephen Porter, present.
All right. Overall, we are currently at 10 members present.
Very good. All right, so first item up is approval of the minutes from the September 11th SCC meeting. And who took these minutes?
Technically, it was me, though that was not actually until after the video came out.
Okay. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to look at them. These are important minutes, and I want to make sure that we get them right.
They're in the email chain.
Yeah, they should
are.
be.
Okay.
I'll post the link in the chat just a moment.
Madam Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, you may.
So I have a question about these minutes. Are these the minutes of the meeting in which the previous SCC voted to disband? And I'm wondering if so, would that legitimate that resolution?
This is just on record of what happened.
No, it would not. It would not give any legitimacy to that because we resolved that with the point of order at the opening of the General State Convention a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so this is just a historical document then.
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just in case anybody missed it, the link is in the chat. I do want to just say I don't think that the Word document link in here is working. I believe I have a copy of that Word document on my computer. I can post it to the list and then share a link from there.
Which document do you mean, Paul?
This is the, if you look at the top of the second page, I believe,
Mhm.
it's the Garrett Motion Word document.
Perhaps we can make sure the actual text ends up in the minutes as opposed to the Word document. Any other questions? People still reading?
Just maybe a suggestion, if you're going to include, I don't remember how long her motion was, but I think it was pretty long. That instead of inserting it in the middle of the minutes, which kind of is a pretty concise agenda, if maybe it's put at the bottom, just like with a note, see below, and that way it's all there, but just, I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It depends on how wordy it is.
I think that's fine.
It is wordy.
Yeah, so that's why I suggest just, saying, Miss Garrett's motion and then just say, see below, addendum 1 or something like that. That might make it just easier to read.
Yeah, from my understanding, I mean, there's no substantive change that would make, so that would be perfectly allowable within the approval of the minutes.
All
Is
right.
everyone ready to call a vote, or are we still
Let's
looking?
do it.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes as recorded by our vice chair?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. And next item is approval of minutes from the convention from December 3rd.
Point of order,
Yes.
Madam Chair. The SCC cannot approve these minutes. They have to be approved by the same group that they represented, so they must be approved at a convention. It doesn't have to be a special convention. It can be a general convention or a regular convention, but the minutes have to be approved by the same entity that they were represented by. So as this wasn't an SCC meeting, but a meeting of the membership, it requires a meeting of the membership, aka a convention, to approve them.
So, Mr. Porter, I would like to call your attention to Article 5, Section 4 of the LPVA Constitution. Normally that is correct, but the Constitution specifically grants the SCC the power to approve convention minutes.
Oh, okay. I withdraw my objection. I don't think it's a good practice, but I withdraw my objection.
I think if we had conventions yearly, it might be okay, but waiting 2 years to approve minutes from a previous convention would probably be forgotten about.
I do have a point of inquiry. Can we produce a final constitution and bylaws? I guess not really bylaws. That's not really relevant to this, but the final constitution without approving the minutes?
Yes. Those motions became literally effective the moment they were passed, unless they were worded otherwise.
I think the latest any of them had was at the closing gavel of the convention. There were some of them that did, but not many. So while I think we do have the power to approve these minutes, I think that Mr. Porter has a good point that it might be good practice to just let them go until the next convention, whether that's 2024 or maybe there's one earlier.
Okay. I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, I think for me at least, the important part is making sure that we have non-draft versions of the governing documents. I think that's very pressing, but the approval of the minutes, I think less so.
Okay.
I would, and I know this is going against what I just said, under these specific circumstances, because of the unusual nature of what happened, and as the Constitution does allow for the SCC to approve the minutes, it might be best to slam the seal of approval on the minutes, just to eliminate any doubts in anybody's minds. I mean, let's be honest, this whole thing was a very unusual situation. So I honestly could see it go either way. I don't object to either, frankly. So just something to think about.
Well,
I will kind of say the same as Mr. Porter. I think we go ahead and approve it, and if there are questions or things that need to be raised, that can happen at the next convention.
well, I will entertain a motion if someone would like to.
I will motion to approve the minutes from the December 3rd convention.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All right. Any objection to approving these minutes? All right. Any objection to approving these minutes?
Did somebody object?
Madam Chair, you're muted.
Oh, Mr. St. John raised his hand. I wasn't sure if he wanted to say something.
I was just going to reiterate, please state your name and your seat before speaking for the motions or seconding, so we have a record of that. Thank you.
All right. With no objections, minutes approved as written. All right. So, officer reports. I've had kind of a busy 2 weeks trying to figure everything out. Still figuring things out, but I guess the first thing I tried to take care of was attempting to contact our CD chairs, Mr. Kuhnberger, Ms. McCall, and Mr. Frazier, to see if they were still wanting to keep their board seats or if they wanted to resign from the SCC. I attempted to contact them multiple times and I did not receive any response from them. So I did speak with Carl Weisig from the 4th Congressional District, and he is going to try and set up a convention to elect a new congressional district chair there. Still trying to figure out what to do with the 10th CD and the 2nd CD. Finding people to take care of that there. I got minutes from the Libertarian Party of Chesterfield from Thursday, December 8th. They voted to consolidate the current Libertarian Party of Chesterfield with the proposed Libertarian Party of Petersburg, and they will then be known as Libertarian Party of South Central Virginia. Once that new affiliate is approved by the SCC, all assets will be transferred to the Libertarian Party of South Central Virginia. I contacted all members of the press that wrote negative articles about the LPVA shortly after our convention. I have only heard back from one, Graham Mumma from the Virginia Mercury, and I will be speaking with him tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. to hopefully set the record straight. Let's see. One thing that I do need a lot of help with is communications. So I am seeking candidates to be communications director for the LPVA. I've received one resume already. If anyone else is interested, they can send a resume to me and try to get that done sometime in January. For future meetings, I would prefer to start a little bit later. 8 p.m. would definitely be better for me and a number of people on the SCC. I also would like to have 3 in-person SCC meetings over the next year, preferably one in Roanoke, one somewhere in Northern Virginia, and one in the Hampton Roads area. And I am also working on finding dates for CRM training for all the CD chairs so that we can get that up and running, so we can hopefully build our membership and volunteer base. And that is everything that I have. Mr. Vice Chair, do you have something?
Yes. So I've been working on a couple of things. The first one, probably the most important, is going to be the new SCC business list. So I'll paste the link to that in the chat if we'd want to include it in the minutes, or if anybody wants to bookmark it or whatever. The old one was deleted. This is basically bringing that same kind of thing back. These Google lists are used by the LNC. They're used by LNC committees. I think work pretty well. I know that there are some people who have concerns with, hey, it's Google. They probably don't look on libertarians too kindly. Yes, I would certainly be open to an alternative platform as long as it has similar functionality. We cannot sacrifice the transparency to membership that something like this would provide. So that's, I think, the biggest thing. We've also created a Discord for the LPVA. I'll put that link into the chat as well. Just for anybody who joins, please make sure before you sign off of your phone or your laptop or whatever you're using, please select your city or county, because otherwise the link is set up to remove you from the server and you'll have to join again. So you're not like banned or anything. It's just in order to keep inactive accounts from being on the server, it basically just select your city or county and it'll be fine from there. Additionally, put together some bylaws amendments. They're mostly, I would say, relatively boilerplate. I don't think there's really any substantive changes. It's just sort of striking language that doesn't really do anything and doesn't need to be in the bylaws. So it's essentially shortening it. It's either that, or perhaps there's arguments to be made that we don't even need to, but there are parts of the bylaws that have since been made moot by constitutional changes. So striking those as well. Additionally, just barely dipping my toe into the CRM and trying to figure out how to do all that. I'm somewhat familiar with data from my day job, so I at least want to be part of that. I don't know that I can be the IT director, but I would like to be assistant to the regional manager. I mean, IT director. So that's what I got.
All right, Mr. Secretary.
Yep. So since the convention, I went ahead and transcribed the minutes for the general state convention. We just voted on those, so I'll move that from draft over to finalized. Similarly, I've updated both the bylaws and the Constitution, not only from this past convention, but also from the previous convention back in February. I just went ahead and dropped those in the chat, so those are available. Those are again in draft form until well, I guess, as Mr. Porter pointed out, they are active. So, I mean, unless there's any issues with them, I'll go ahead and finalize these. So, kind of piggybacking a couple of things off of what Paul was just saying. So the Discord, just also kind of for everyone else to keep in mind, is Discord also kind of acts as its own little means of audit tracking. So Discord kind of logs everything, and it's not necessarily official communication, but it does provide a really convenient means of tracking conversation. The other big thing are the officer reports. So as all of you know, I went ahead and sent out a template for officer reports, and kind of what I would like to do is start providing these as like a read ahead for those who are not only unable to attend the meeting, but also for people who are attending the meeting. They'll have a little bit more situational awareness on, you know, things that are going on either with their local CD chairs or with the officers or whatever. You know, kind of for instance, if we're looking for places to host whatever different documents, or like kind of like what Paul was saying with the SCC Google group, you know, if we have a member who's pretty savvy on stuff like that, they'll have knowledge about this beforehand. We can kind of bring it up and talk about it offline, and we don't have to take time during the actual meeting talking about specific IT nuances. This is also going to provide a mechanism for like vice chairs or proxies for SCC members if they're unavailable to attend. You know, if there's a track record, they'll kind of have a place to read up on previous activities. This also allows the chair to write these up if they're not attending, and so they can give that to the proxy. I know in the past we've kind of had proxies come online with little to no coordination from the CD chair, and my opinion is we can do better than that. So overall, my last bit is just my goal for the foreseeable future is to kind of just get us much better organized, more accessible, and more transparent for the members. I mean, I'm echoing the same thing that Paul just said. I think having all of this more readily available to everyone is kind of paramount, and the fact that we haven't gotten it up and running at that point just yet is, well, we got a little bit of work to do. So that's all I got.
Very good. All right, Mr. Treasurer.
Hi guys. So our state of funds is that we are pretty healthy amount. We have $38,000 in our main state account. I moved recently an extra $1,275 over to the federal account so that we could give that essentially to the LNC. So that will be a bit of a filing thing on that end. But the reason why we moved $1,275 over was to cover the joint memberships that are finally getting taken care of. For all that don't know what this is, we had a joint membership option for the national membership and our membership. Basically, you pay $50 and we would cover your state membership, and then we would cover the national membership. Essentially, it was a plan by National to have an easy button to sort of make joint membership like an automatic thing, except it was extremely manual and wasn't being done very well. And we don't have a lot of support from National on it either. It seems like that, like it's not very easy for them to do it either. So we ended up just totally scrapping it finally. But before that, it wasn't getting taken care of back in the prior treasurer's era. So we caught back up, and all the people that had paid it. I do, heavily apologize for how long it took to get the memberships out there, but all of those memberships will be added hopefully within the next week or so. Other than that, we've had a recent FEC filing. That was for the general post-general election report. Well, we as a PAC, generally you'll have two different reports. You have a couple like probably like 2 weeks before, or maybe like 8 days before the general election, and then you have a post general election report if we were funding any campaign finance. We haven't funded anything, so it was 0 reports, but we're required to file it, otherwise we get fined. So those have been issued. Right now, our current spending is around $55.73-ish every month. That is on QuickBooks, Zoom, and our virtual post office box that we have, 1601 Willow something. It's our basically just a post office box that can re-forward that mail to us from other places. So we're not spending a whole lot of money, and maybe next month, throughout the next month, I'm hoping to work with our board to try to kind of decide how we want to start spending funds, and where we want to start prioritizing, where we want to push things. So far, I've kind of developed a little bit of a very, very temporary broad budget, and how we could kind of start splitting things out. But I figure we can leave that for a different meeting after I kind of work it through with our officers. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I do have a question for the treasurer, if I may.
Sure.
So the $38,000 that you quoted, is that net of both the money forwarded to National for the past joint memberships and net of the money for the general state convention?
No, that does not include general state convention fees. It does not include the outgoing money for the joint memberships. And this also is not net of the SASLaw recall stuff either, which is another thing that needs to be worked out as well.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. John? All right. Let's go to CD reports. CD1, Mr. Kirby's.
Hi, everyone. CD1, Nick Curfeys. Couple things to report. Chesterfield, which is partially in CD1. There was talks on trying to get that going, but as Madam Chair mentioned, that is being looked at for them to join South Central, or what's to become South Central. Been talking with Mr. Wysick and working with them as well. For Central Virginia, we do have a general convention coming up on January 25th. And these are going to be bylaws changes to Central Virginia. Main objective or main topic is to add Richmond City to our affiliate. And as we all know, that Richmond City either disassociated or is no longer affiliated or associated with the LP National. So that's the reason for doing so we can give homes to libertarians that want to be part of the Libertarian Party. Also, we need to figure out if Three Rivers is still an affiliate. And if they're not, we can help them re-affiliate or start a new affiliate. Madam Chair, if you have anything for Peninsula, please let me know, or, state here. Otherwise, I think that's a culmination of my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kerfees. CD2 is not present, so CD3, Mr. St. John.
Yeah, this is James St. John. The Peninsula Libertarian Group has been meeting quite consistently. The second Monday night, I believe they're meeting now, having our dinner meeting. The Hampton Roads Group, unfortunately, is falling on harder and harder times. We've appeared to have gone from first to worst in the area. And I just noticed today that the Facebook page we had set up has somehow disappeared. So I'm looking into that as we speak to figure out what happened there. Other than that, I stand by to assist in the 2nd District Convention if we so need one. I'm sure Mr. Watkins will be sure to help with that with whatever he can. So. That's pretty much, I'm short and sweet on my report, so we gotta keep them quick there.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
Yeah, I saw. CD4 is absent. CD5 currently vacant, which we will take care of shortly. CD6 is not present. Mr. Secretary, did you get a report from him?
I did not, no.
Okay. All right, CD7, Mr. Norton.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so I messaged with the Fredericksburg affiliate earlier today, or yesterday, I'm sorry, I think it was, just to find out, right now they're going to be doing a survey of their membership. They're looking at changing their meeting day, just to see if they can find a day that is going to attract more people. That's really the biggest portion of what we have in my city. It's mostly rural area, except the Fredericksburg side. And also, I don't remember if it was Mr. Bruce who I saw posted it, but all of you know about the Gourmelt's restaurant in Fredericksburg, who I think they refused to shut down, if I remember right, and they were just giving back their liquor license with no fees, no fines. So that's a big victory. And then again, anytime we get a chance to support people like that, definitely we need to take that opportunity to stop in there when we're driving through. But that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you. All right, CD8, Mr. Hoy.
Okay, sorry. So for CD8, not too much to say other than the item on the horizon that we're starting to plan for is holding a CD8 convention. My guess is that it'll probably be in early February. Matt Cholko has graciously volunteered to really help out a lot with spearheading, organizing that, and I intend to take him up on that. There are a couple of little housekeeping things to take care of first, just to help us better organize it. I'm gonna be setting something up, probably a Facebook page and maybe some other things specific to CDA to try to pull the membership and get thoughts on timing and things like that. But that's basically what's on the horizon right now. Other than that, nothing specific to update on.
Thank you. CD9, Mr. Craig.
How's everybody doing tonight? All right. The only thing that I really got to report is the Roanoke Valley Libertarians. They have been continuing doing their work for the LPVA, even during the past couple of months during the failed coup. Right now in the 9th district, we're working on getting affiliates built. We're trying to stray away from regional affiliates and try to get more county affiliates, because if a lot of people don't realize this, that the 9th district is the size of New Jersey. So it's really hard if we have if we had regionals, it's really hard to get everybody together, especially within this district. We don't have that many members in the 9th, but it's such a big landmass. The last thing that we're fully right now, we're looking for candidates. Right now is the best time to start looking and training candidates, get them fully prepared for when the campaign starts. They're full blown, ready to go. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. All right, CD10 is absent. CD11, Mr. Porter.
Yeah, not a lot to report from CD11 at the moment. Once the new year starts up, we'll try to get the convention that got sort of side swiped by the notification requirements back on track for bylaws and selection of a chair. So nothing major to report at this time.
All right, thank you. All right, and now on to old business. First item up is an IT director. This was something that went on for months without being dealt with by the SCC, I think starting with February of 2022. Yes,
Just
Mr. Vice Chair?
Point of inquiry, Madam Chair. Are we planning on having any votes during this section labeled old business?
If we need to vote on IT director, then yes.
In that case, I would like to motion to amend the agenda to move the appointment of CD5 interim chair until right now.
Would it be better to table the IT director vote?
Either case, I would be fine with either case. I would just want to make sure that since we are going to appoint an interim CD5 chair, since I know at least one candidate is on the call for that, I just feel like we should be filling that position before we have any other votes. But if we want to have discussion, that's fine.
I'm okay either way.
Oh, I'll just leave that. That's my motion.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Personally, I think it would be a good idea to appoint them first, just so that they can be on record to vote for anything else that any other business that we do. So I guess I'll call a question.
So I guess we're
voting
nominating.
voting on your motion to amend the agenda.
Did anybody object to it?
No.
Did anybody object to it?
Okay.
There were no objections.
We will
All right.
amend the agenda and take care of appointing a new
Or no objection?
CD chair. We will amend the agenda and I will open the floor for nominations.
I would like to nominate James.
For nominations.
This is James St. John. I'd like to nominate James Curtis for the job.
Mr. Curtis, do you accept?
I will accept and am willing to serve.
Thank you. Do you have any other nominations? All right, hearing none. Any objections to appointing Mr. Curtis as the interim 5th CD chair?
Mr. Norton, CD7, could we hear from the new, the guy who's running? 'Cause I don't know who he is, and I trust you all's nomination, but just to have him introduce himself, and for those of us that don't know him.
Sure.
I'd be delighted to. I recognize a lot of new names here for myself also. So recognizing that a lot of you don't know me, this would potentially, my name is James Curtis. I live in Charlottesville. I joined the Libertarian Party of Virginia in 1996. I'd say a little slowly, it's been that long ago. Joined the National Party in 97. This would potentially be my third stint as 5th CD chair. I believe I was first elected back in 2000 or so. I need to check with Doc Lark on the actual dates. His memory on such things is better than mine. Served in that capacity for a few years until I moved out of state, moved back to Virginia in late 2007, was reelected CD chair in 2008, and served in that capacity until 2010 when I was elected state treasurer, and served as treasurer until 2018 convention. Moved around the state a little bit. I've been involved with the Jefferson area Libertarians here in the Charlottesville area. Also been involved with the Roanoke Valley Libertarians when I moved down to that part of the state. And then I lived in West End, Henrico, West End of Richmond. Tried to get an affiliate going there a few years ago and without much success. And then moved back to the Charlottesville area about 4 years ago. The JAL has not been as active, but I have been involved here, and of course, keeping up with recent events. Wanted to provide some stability to the council and to members here in the area, bring my experience and hopefully some expertise to the position. And again, just to provide for the members here in the 5th district some stability from that perspective. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Anybody have any questions? No? All right. So any objections to appointing Mr. Curtis as the interim 5th CD chair? All right, hearing none, I will congratulate Mr. Curtis as being our new 5th CD chair.
I'll accept your congratulations, presumably for lack of a better word.
Well, as Ken Molman told me, congratulations.
Yes.
All right, now back to appointing a IT director for the LPVA. Mr. Gary Krause has done an excellent job trying to get us up and running from an IT perspective since the meeting on September 11th. He has done a lot of training, and I believe he is willing to serve still as long as he has a committee to help him. But I will let him speak to that.
Yeah, hey, good evening, everyone. This is Gary Krause. I accept the nomination, I think is the correct way of going about this. Or anyway, I'm a software engineer by trade. I do websites and databases and all kinds of stuff like that. And I was the one that sort of got the website after the September 11th meeting back up and running with all the domain names and such, and I've been doing some behind the scenes work. However, this is not a one-person job, and so I would propose that it's not just an IT one person, but more of a committee with people that are able to act accordingly. But happy to help.
Thank you. So I guess in the bylaws, it says that the chair can appoint committee directors with approval from the SCC. So does that require a vote?
Yeah, if it says with the approval of the SCC, then yes.
Okay. I'd be willing to entertain a motion.
Paul Bracco, Vice Chair. I nominate Gary Kraus for IT Director or IT Committee Chair, whatever we want to call it.
Logan Hoy, CD8, I second that motion.
All right, any further discussion? All right, any further discussion? Mr. St. John?
Nothing that's relevant.
Okay. All right, any objections to appointing Mr. Kraus as our IT Committee Director? All right, hearing none. Yes, congratulations to you too.
Thanks, everybody. Just if you have any IT questions, please gary.kraus@lplva.com. Thank you.
All right.
I do have a question. How long
Yeah.
until we can accept donations in Bitcoin?
I will consult the treasurer about it, but I will only act as directed.
All right, next under old business was the funds to be sent to National, I believe that's been taken care of. Next order of business is a petition from Mr. Tim Lewis. I did send out the text of that petition to the SCC. Is there anyone that did not get a chance to read that? Mr. Lewis, would you like to update us on the state of your petition?
I sure can. I guess you've read it. I met with lawyer Bob Barlow. He's a civil rights attorney here in Fredericksburg on Friday, and he says he thinks that the standing issue is fine, given the Supreme Court decisions of Lakewood v. Plain Dealer and Staub versus City of Baxley. He thinks the case has teeth and merit, and he would like to take it on. So at this point, my real question was: A, is there a lawyer to pursue this? And I was willing to go pro se on this, but my hesitation on that was knowing which court had the authority to issue the writ of mandamus against the county. He thinks it can be handled in the general district court for the county. He says that two of the three judges in there, two of the three best judges in Virginia, and are very likely to see this our way. And he says there is also the chance of going to Alexandria and taking it to federal court, because it is a violation of the First and 14th Amendments. regardless, he's asking a $5,000 retainer on it. That is what it is, I guess. When you ask a lawyer to get involved with things, it costs money. Right now, I'm kind of weighing that, whether, especially during the holiday seasons, tossing $5,000 for this, because I'm not looking for any compensatory damages. I'm just looking for a writ of mandamus to make the board stop 14th Amendment equal protection because of constitutional free speech. I just want them to knock it off. And right now, dropping 5K on that is a little tight, but you know, I can save and skip and get there. But regardless, when I first saw this, first started wanting to pursue it, my initial thought was, what a chance for the state party to be involved in something that is actively fighting for liberty. And because the state party has members here in Stafford County who are affected by the decisions of this board, the state party can come on as co-litigants to this case and help fight this for cause. So that's really what I was hoping to come to the board with back in September, and what I offer to you again today.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Lewis?
So not for Mr. Lewis, because I think this is great. It's really just I think it's financial. This is the only question that matters. I mean, if we had unlimited money, we should sue the government every single day, every single minute of every single day. But so we're going to have to pay out for, what was it, about $1,200 or so for the joint memberships backlog. I think it was $2,000 and something for the general state convention, and potentially I think it was like 10 grand for the SAS law, depending on what we want to do with that. So that would then put us down much closer to 20 grand if we were to like do all that. 5,000 on top of that. That's my only thing. I think there could be an argument made that the SAS law funds were initially to push back against the government, petition in that case, but in this case it would be suing them. But in either case, it would be pushing back on the government who's violating somebody's rights. So I don't know if we want to do that, but there could. Anyway, I'll shut up and let other people talk now.
Mr. St. John?
Yeah, my question is, what exactly are we looking for from the court hearing? Are we looking for the board to just not have the power to deny these kind of things anymore? What specifically are we looking for exactly? That's my question. I guess that would go to you, Tim.
The two things that I'm asking the court to put down is, one, a writ of mandamus, basically a knock it off letter to the Stafford County Board of Supervisors, telling them that what they did was wrong and that they violated the First and 14th Amendment rights of the people they're supposed to serve. The second thing I'm asking for is an order for the Stafford County Board of Supervisors to readdress the procedure for approving such applications, to expressly forbid using constitutionally protected activity as a determining factor in the approval of the permits, and to have them do a for cause denial where they have to expressly state the cause, i.e. or e.g. Increased traffic or dangerous situation or something like that. That is a justifiable reason to deny a building permit, special use permit.
Mr. Bruce?
Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so for me, I'm just kind of more curious on the kind of going back to the financial point. Have we discussed any of this or brought it to anybody's attention and say like the ACLU or any other organizations like that that might have a little bit more deeper pockets to be kind of willing to take on an active role in that also? I mean, for something civil liberties related, I feel like not only is that kind of their bread and butter, but it would kind of behoove us to have a little bit more oomph behind it rather than just the Libertarian Party of Virginia. I'm just throwing out the question there, not any, coalitions. Over.
I have reached out, at least on the national level, to the ACLU. It has not garnered a response. I can reach out to the local ACLU chapter as well. I haven't yet. I have also reached out to the Institute of Justice. They have not replied either. And both those national level reach outs were back in September.
Mr. Norton?
David Norton, CD7. I was actually going to suggest about IJ, about reaching out to them. I guess my other thought was simply looking at this from a different direction. And, well, one is that coffee company still trying to get this permit, or have they moved on? In other words, are we dealing with something that's, like, hey, you try to do this. This is sort of like, if you will, don't do it anymore. Or
They
is
got the
it
permit.
something we can help them still get that permit?
They got the permit. It was put to vote. It was 5-4 in favor of issuing the permit. There were 2 dissenting votes. One of them said their inside voice on the outside and said she voted against them because of their prior free speech.
Right. Okay, got it. So they've already gotten it. So we're just talking about just in general for the future. Okay.
Right, because this particular supervisor, in essence, said, watch what you say, watch who you donate to, because it will be used against you in future decisions.
I'm just thinking with $5,000, I mean, you can run online petitions. We could run someone against her, and just as far as, I mean, regardless of what party they run as independent, doesn't matter. But the point is, backing someone that's just going to put it all out there. Look what she's doing to anybody who thinks opposite of her. That's, to me, more of a punishment than a lawyer. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know. And that's just weighing those options. Yes, sir.
I've just got 2 points on that specific issue. Number one, this isn't against just this one supervisor. On the following board meeting, I went and addressed the entire board. I pointed out the Supreme Court case law that they specifically went against. I pointed out what prior restraint was. They didn't even know what prior restraint. Regardless, I asked them to censure, to consider censure of Ms. Gary, and to go ahead and revise their approval rules, and they've done nothing. They've done absolutely nothing. So right now the entire board is guilty by acceptance of what's gone, and a refusal to do anything to change it. So the suit would be filed against the entirety of the Stafford County Board of Supervisors, with the specific actions of Supervisor Gary and the specific inactions of the remainder of the board once they were made aware of the unconstitutionality of the event. And on the second point of how best to spend $5,000, I just want to be clear. I'm coming to the board to ask if you would like to participate in this, because I think it would be good for the state party to be active in fighting in defense of civil liberties. I'm not asking for the entire $5,000. If the SCC can contribute in any way, it would be greatly appreciated, but I'm going to pursue this regardless, whether it winds up being me coming up with 5K and suing this, or somebody coming on as a co-litigant, or even just funding a portion of it, or if I have to file pro se and just fight it on my own in court. So I'm not asking for the entirety of the 5,000. It'd be great. That's not why I'm here. I'm coming here offering the state party a chance to be part of this.
Yes, that makes sense.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yeah, so this would probably be a better question for the lawyer, but since he's not on, how applicable, if there were to be a judgment against the County Board of Supervisors, how applicable would it be to other counties and cities in Virginia?
That would depend on a number of factors. If it is in the Alexandria Federal Court, it would be applicable. I mean, the circumstances already been decided with the previous case law. So it's already, I believe, immediately applicable across the state and across the nation, that you can't use First Amendment protected activities to violate the 14th Amendment protections.
So maybe if I could clarify my question, it sounds pretty rock solid from a case, my non-lawyer self evaluating it though. Would this be a situation where we spend this $5,000 and essentially we can pull out this court order if some other city or county were to try to pull something similarly? Or would that other city or county need to be sued separately, another $5,000, that sort of thing? Because I think that the value proposition here is very different depending on what the answer to that question is.
Right. Well, it would immediately go into the pile of precedent in defense of this. If the court finds in our favor, there's already a stack of precedent that can be sat upon when going against this, which is part of why I'm doing this. This case has already been decided multiple times. This is just us telling a court to tell them, hey, this case has been decided multiple times. So yes, I think it can be relied on again if it comes out in our favor. Absolutely. It would just be another court case on the stack of court cases.
All right, Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Lewis, I know you said you're not considering suing for damages or such, but have you asked the attorney about the opportunity to recover legal fees as part of the lawsuit?
I have not. That was my one question after having left, and I just haven't asked that.
And for what it's worth, I would think it would be appropriate for the party to contribute something towards this effort monetarily, but I don't know if we could fund the entire effort, and agree with other members that we should be looking for other organizations, perhaps even the coffee company itself, other participants to help foot these bills. But I do think this is an effort worth pursuing. And appreciate you taking the lead on this. Thank you.
Tim, what's the time frame that you're looking at on this? Because I wonder if we might be able to table our action as LPVA until we've gathered a handful of more details. But if that doesn't work with your timeline, then maybe that's not an option.
I'm as much as a lawyer as most of you here. I watched Judge Judy. That's about it. As far as any sort of statute of limitations on this, I'm not certain. I would assume if there is one, it would be about a year, which would put us until September of next year to do something. But that's a complete assumption, and wag on my part.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Vice Chair?
So not really a question for Mr. Lewis, but maybe just for the rest of the board. Does anybody have a concern with this other than the financial?
I have questions that I want to answer that relate to potential concerns I'm envisioning, but they aren't concrete. That's one of the reasons why I'd like more time to learn about it.
Well, this is something that could be a motion to table until the next meeting.
Well, I'll submit that motion. I motion to table action on this issue, this petition, until our January SCC meeting or our subsequent meeting, whenever that is.
And I'll second that. Austin Craig, CD9.
All right. Anyone opposed to tabling this until the next? Mr. Lewis?
Can I just ask a question? Is
Yeah.
is there any further information the board would need in order to come to that decision apart from time that I can help gather?
CD1, Nick Curfeys, just asking Mr. Hoy and others their main concerns that they would like addressed for Mr. Lewis.
Well, part of the questions I have are what's already been brought up. You know, time frame. Can this kind of thing recover legal fees? But there's a couple of other questions I want to look into. I just don't know that much about the particular incident, and I want to read up on the details on my own. You know, be familiar with it. Whenever you make a decision organizationally and you tie yourself in some way to some other group, it's good to know something about them, because even if their cause is good, maybe there's something else about them that you don't necessarily want to be too closely affiliated with. So I just want to check that out a bit. It's not, I don't expect to have some issue. I'm just saying that because I haven't gone through that due diligence process yet, I myself wouldn't want to make a decision until having done so.
I'm the other organization.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There you go.
No,
So-
Black Rifle Coffee Company, the people who applied for the permit, they've got their permit. They're gone. They're done.
Oh no, but see,
gonna
but that's the
build.
thing.
This isn't about them.
I did read it as, or hearing you describe it, that is how I interpreted it, like your perspective on that. But, and I think that in so far as pursuing this action, yeah, that would be true. But there's still always like the name associated with it, even in pursuing it and talking about it. And just because I don't know anything about them, I just want to check it out. I mean, again, I don't expect to find anything. It's just that I feel like that's an important thing to do for my own, you know.
I'm not anti-fact finding at all.
Yeah.
I just figured if I could answer the question, I'm the other party in this.
I get it, but what
yeah.
I also wonder if, you know, in talking about gathering other organizations and stuff, if maybe we could or should get them back involved. They probably don't want the headache of it, but you know, it's another thing to consider, I think. That's all.
Mr. Norton?
Yeah, David Norton, CD7. No, I think, you know, going off Logan's point, I think everybody here is in favor of this. You know, we purposely brought this up from our September meeting because we thought it was important, because we thought it was valid and good to be a part of this. I think the question is really just to what degree, you know, maybe there are maybe some of the members here of the board might have other connections to other organizations that might want to also work on it with us, and maybe form a coalition. I just think there's a lot of things to explore, not as far as good or bad or right or wrong. I don't think anybody's really thinking this is not a good thing. I think it's more a matter of just going, what is our part going to be, to what amount, you know, as far as like, no one's gonna be able to decide today yes, let's do X amount of dollars, that won't be able to decide it until January anyway. So I think what is just, we just start a either an email thread about it, and we just, we start debating it back and forth. And like we did after the 9/11 meeting, we took our time, we figured out what the heck we were going to do and how the best way was to solve the problem that we had. And I think this is the same thing. I think just give it a little time, let everyone put all their brains together. I think we're going to come up with, what part we can play, the best part that we can play, that fits within our role. And then who else we can bring in as well. I don't know. I just think that's my only thing is I think right now we're all on board. It's just to what degree and how and with whom and how what's the best way to go about this.
Absolutely, and not against taking time to make a decision. I totally support that. And if any of you know any civil rights attorneys who might want to do this pro bono, that'd be cool too.
If I can make a suggestion that we can submit questions for Mr. Lewis and I can send them his way so we can get everything answered so that we can move on with business. Mr. Bruce, did you have something to say?
Yes, since we are technically still under the motion to table this action, I would like to offer an amendment because as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is Mr. Lewis suing the state for a very, very good reason. It falls right within our kind of bread and butter. So my amendment would be to table this for 3 days for a e-vote 3 days after Mr. Lewis has provided response to the questions proposed by the SCC.
So, Mr. Secretary, I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. Appropriating funds requires a 2/3 vote, and we are prohibited from having an e-vote on anything that requires a 2/3 vote. So we could
Right now
sign
we're not
on to
voting.
this.
Hang on. Yes. I'm not
Okay.
saying that we're voting to allocate funds, just voting to sign on as per the original proposal by Mr. Lewis.
Okay. So this would be
Funding the funding question. I feel like that's something that can be answered after we get a little bit more finality from both the attorney and after we've discussed this a little bit more.
So is this amendment to table the decision to sign on, yes or no, for 3 days while keeping the motion to table the funding question until the January meeting?
I see those as two separate questions, not necessarily one and the same question. We can tackle the funding piece completely separate. We can do that a month from now or whatever. But whether or not we sign on to this, I mean, again, this is, to me, this is Tim suing the state. This is a no-brainer. If we assume the mantle of we're not going to put anything in financially, if we are going to decide to put things in financially, there's nothing prohibiting us from taking that action 2 or 3 months from now. That's just my opinion. But I would consider those to be two different things.
Paul Bracco, Vice Chair, I'll second your amendment.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Mr. Kerpes?
I would, I entertain this motion or amendment to the motion. I would just ask maybe that Mr. Bruce specify a date or time frame for answers and response before the e-vote.
Yeah, that was the 3 days after Tim provides responses to the board. So whether he just emails questions or emails answers back to the board or whatever, that then starts our 72-hour countdown.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking
When
what's
do
that?
those questions have to be in?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would say as soon as people get those out. I mean, Logan had a few. So yeah, just Logan, write those up, send them out. Anybody else? Let's say 48 hours from now, we should have questions written up. I mean, does that seem reasonable?
Dave, in order to be 7, can I suggest we just say 1 week? That's a couple
We start
days
running in.
questions, a couple days for the response, and a couple days to consider. I think that's 1 week is.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion that's on the floor that we table this to an e-vote, and that e-vote will be closed by December 30th of 2022. 11:59 p.m. 11:59 p.m. on December 30th.
And I'll still second that.
Any opposed? All right, so we are voting on tabling this to an e-vote to be completed by December 30th at 11:59 p.m. Anyone opposed to that motion? Hearing none, we will table this, Mr. Lewis, and we will get back to you by the end of the year.
I appreciate your consideration. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. All right, does anyone have any other old business that they can think of? All right, on to new business. We took care of appointing our interim CD5 chair. Next is a resolution for Mr. Jonathan Jacobs.
So if I might speak to that, let me link to the email thread where this was put forward. That is in the comments. So this is a pretty short motion. Essentially, it was brought to my attention that something similar to this was brought up on the LNC list, and given that Mr. Jacobs and let me back up actually. So, speaking as somebody who did a lot of work on the amendment proposals to be heard at the special convention, Mr. Jacobs was invaluable. He was a very knowledgeable resource to make sure that we did everything properly, that we were not violating any rules or any member's rights when we did what we needed to do at the December convention. I think that we would have been in a lot tougher spot with making sure that we followed all the proper procedures otherwise. And I think that that's worthy of thanks. So that's why I put this motion forward.
Second.
I'll just read it off real quick. Whereas Jonathan M. Jacobs, PRPR CPP, has generously donated his professional services to assist the members of the Libertarian Party of Virginia, LPVA, in a time of distress. Whereas the LPVA has successfully completed its general state convention with goodwill and attendance among its members, be it therefore resolved that the State Central Committee of the LPVA sincerely thanks Mr. Jacobs for his time and assistance in assisting the LPVA membership. And I can put that text into the chat as well.
Any discussion? He was definitely an invaluable asset through this whole process. Not sure that we would have been able to do everything as quickly as we did without his help. So I appreciate your coming up with this motion, Mr. Vice Chair. So anyone opposed to motion for this resolution? All right, hearing none, we'll approve this. And where where would we publish this, Mr. Vice Chair?
I guess on the list, as part of the minutes. We should probably ask Mr. Jacobs what the appropriate publishing mechanism is.
What he would like us to do. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Is this anything that would be useful for social media?
I would doubt it. I would imagine that most people are. I think that it's good to be grateful to people who help you out for free. But I don't know that this is going to get a lot of press. Like we thank a very nice guy, but not anybody famous. I don't know. We can. I don't think it's.
Well,
I don't know.
And the other backhand of that is the negative aspect that could come of it. We know will come of it if we do that, but
I
still
think I know. Yes, I would agree with that. I think we should probably avoid poking bears if we don't have to. I think we did our due diligence by thanking somebody who helped us out a lot. I think we definitely sent it to him. We definitely it needs to be part of the minutes. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe if we're putting somebody up for communications chair, then that's kind of their discretion what they want to put on social media.
and that might be a better question for JJ too, whether he appreciates that, wants that, likes that, etc. But
All right, we will find out. Next item up is the bylaws amendments, Mr. Vice Chair. Should we just have someone share a screen for this, or?
I can. Let's see if I can find which of these threads. Apologies. Here it is. Oh, oops. It is a zip. Let me just open it up on my computer. I'll link to it, but it was posted to the list as a zip file. So bear with me a moment here.
Paul, do you want me to share my screen?
Oh, if you have it up, sure. I was just going to pull it up myself.
Yeah, that's fine. Which one do you want to start with?
I think we should start with the compiler's resolution. It's literally word for word what we passed the special convention. It's just, I think it's probably best practice to get into anytime we're even considering amendments to governing documents, we should have that in there.
All right, 1 second.
There is, I think the third and last of the amendments does have some language that it would be really good to have this passed, just to make it a lot cleaner to do what that amendment's doing. There would be some reordering required, essentially. So
is it showing on your screen?
It is.
Okay.
So I would like to move that we adopt this resolution. I can read it out if anybody wants to.
I'll second your motion, Paul. Logan Hoy seconds.
discussion? Now, is this technically a bylaws amendment?
This is a resolution. It's not an amendment itself. As of this moment, the bylaws remain unchanged.
Okay, so this does not require 2/3. Yes. Okay. Any opposed to this resolution? All right, hearing none, I say this passes.
All right. So, Mr. Secretary, if you could pull up proposed amendment 1, should be titled strike member removal, at least from the bylaws. So this section of the bylaws, essentially, we had passed an amendment back in February that changed. It was Article 7 of the Constitution. Previously, Article 7 had specified that the members can be removed from the party, and the procedures for that can be specified in the bylaws. And so here's where they were specified. However, the amendment back in February essentially took this language, slightly adopted it, so it's not all these section numbers. It's not 7.1. It's like Article 7, Section 1, that sort of thing, to match with the formatting of the Constitution. And we essentially passed the language that exists in here. So as of now, there's no authorization within the Constitution for the bylaws to contain this, and it is actually specified in the Constitution what the procedure is, rather than in here. So this amendment is essentially strike this whole section. It is pretty much it's moot at this point.
A point of order there, Mr. Vice Chair. So when we passed this amendment back in February, as I wrote up the updated governing documents, the Constitution and bylaws, I basically understood that the passing of that would necessarily mean that it's going to be deleted from the bylaws and moved over to the Constitution. So the draft versions of those two documents, I've already removed it from the bylaws and put it into the Constitution.
Certainly the latter is appropriate. It took effect. I don't believe there was any sort of proviso on it. It took effect as soon as it got passed. I don't know the other side of it. The membership on the absent some kind of amendment to the Constitution, the membership in convention doesn't have the authority to. It's essentially delegated that authority in its entirety to the SCC. So I don't know. Somebody more knowledgeable might have a better idea of what the procedure is there, whether we have to actually delete it or whether we don't.
Yeah, just to that was just kind of my. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just figure we're better off voting to delete it just to
Agree.
make sure it's correct.
All right. I would like to motion that we amend the bylaws to strike the entirety of Section 7, titled expulsion from the party, and all subsections.
I will second that, CD1.
And this does require 2/3, so we will have to roll call vote for this. So CD1,
Yes.
CD3,
Sure.
CD5.
As a point of personal privilege, I'd like to mention I wrote these bylaws but I agree that with the changes to the Constitution, they're no longer necessary. I vote yes.
All right, thank you. CD7,
Yes.
CD8,
Yes.
CD9,
Yes.
CD11, Mr. Porter.
Sorry. Yes.
Mr. John,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Bracco.
Yes.
All right, and I believe that gives us 10. Give me my vote. I vote yes as well. All right, so amendment passes.
Just a point of parliamentary inquiry, Madam Chair. I believe that the language in the bylaws states that it needs 2/3, not 2/3 of the entire SCC, which means it's 2/3 of those voting. Essentially, the absent members neither count. That basically as if they weren't here at all. Like,
Okay.
let me verify that just to make sure. I'm fairly certain that it is just 2/3. Yes. Section 4.1.1 part 6, I guess. So it's just adoption and amendment of bylaws to this constitution by a 2/3 majority.
Okay. All right, thank you for the clarification, Mr. Vice Chair. Would you like to move on to your second proposal?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, please.
Bruce, do you have
I
that
can't.
share on your screen?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I have like 3,000 windows open.
I can pull it up if you prefer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you'll need to enable participant screen sharing.
All right, try now.
Okay. Does everybody see it? It's a lot shorter.
I
Am
got
lagging?
nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a black screen. Are you sure that you are sharing the right window or the right? Okay, now I can see.
There we go.
I think my my internet was not cooperating there for a moment. So this one's a lot shorter, but the idea is the same. The difference is that the amendment that makes this part null and void is something that got passed at the recent convention. We had previously been operating under Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 10th edition, and as stated in the new Constitution, the governing, the parliamentary authority is the most recent approved version of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, which is currently the 12th edition. So this is another part of the bylaws that it doesn't really hold anymore. It's sort of been superseded by the Constitution. So just striking this as well for the same reason as the previous amendment.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move that we strike section 4.1.4 of the bylaws currently reading Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 10th edition, shall serve as the official guide to parliamentary procedure for the SCC. That we just strike that and it's just gone, replaced with nothing. It's just gone, replaced.
I
Second.
second.
Okay.
Who's that, James?
CD9, sorry.
Okay, Austin, gotcha.
All right, any discussion? All right, CD1, Mr. Kirkes, how do you vote?
Yes.
CD3, Mr. St. John?
Yes.
CD5, Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
CD7, Mr. Norton?
Yes.
CD8, Mr. Hoy?
Yep.
9, Mr. Craig?
Yes.
All right, CD11, Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. John?
Yes.
Mr. Bruce?
Yes.
Mr. Bracco?
Yes.
All right. And that passes as well.
All right. So the last one is, I would guess, even more simple, but it does touch a few other sections. And I do believe that it is anybody's right, if they want to call that we vote on each of these separately. But hopefully no one will feel the need to do that. Apologies. Zoom and screen share don't seem to be playing nicely for me today. I'll try one more time. And then I might need your help there, Mr. Bruce. Apologies. I think I had sent an updated version of this. It was expanded out a little bit more. It is still this section, but there were a few other things. Let's see. Oh, it's really not wanting to cooperate here. I tried. Sorry, everybody.
And Mr. Vice Chair, this was what you sent out shortly before the meeting.
All right. All right. Okay, I surrender. I surrender, Zoom. I'm gonna need let me send the updated I think I had put it in Zoom or the zip file,
There we go.
but Yeah, okay, this version. Yes. So it's a little bit further out, further reaching. A lot of it is going to be striking these little parentheses. Essentially, hopefully we can just cover those by making minutes available. So you have at the end of section 1.1, and the end of section 2.1 and 2.2. It is the same section 3 that the four sections that say basically no bylaws exist for this section. I don't think we need that. We can just not have the section. And similar for what was that, section 4 something? Yeah, in the local committees, this is part of section 4.3. There's some unusual numbering there. So the 2, 3, 4 get repeated. I think we can just leave it to the list to handle that one. I think a lot of these are just cleaning up, shortening. There's another section 5.2.1 that basically is just we don't have bylaws here. And just like hopefully the one thing I don't think this section is going to be substantive, but if you go up to section, I believe it's 2.1, it is reiterating our current dues, essentially, which are defined in the Constitution as that $25 per year, except for students. We do need to keep that section, the second half of that, the definition of what a student is. I don't want to strike that, or I guess it's section 2.2 that describes what a current student is. But yeah, so if I guess I'll move that we adopt all of these changes with the single vote. I do believe that if anybody wants to object to that, they can. I think it's just any member, and we can do this sort of section by section otherwise.
I'll second for one vote.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will do a vote. So CD1,
Yes.
CD3,
Yes.
CD5,
Yes.
CD7,
Yes.
CD8,
Yes.
CD9,
Yes.
CD11,
Yes.
Mr. Treasurer,
Yes.
Secretary,
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
All right, and we will make all of those changes as moved by Mr. Bracco.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, next up is committee appointments. First, candidate support committee. I have gotten word from Mr. Dean Davidson, Mr. Matt Chalco, Mr. Charlie Milner, and Mr. Harry Taylor that they are all interested in being on this committee. I'm not sure that any of them have decided to be chair, but that is my proposed committee so far.
Madam Chair, do you know if Michael Bartley is interested in the committee?
He did not say one way or another yet. I think he's focused on getting his campaign going.
think Mr. Bartley would like to be on the receiving end of some of that committee's help.
Well, he's lucky enough to have the chair of the state party live 2 miles from his house, so he'll get plenty of help.
And who might that be?
Are you actually in his district?
There are 4 of us in the same delegate district in the Peninsula group.
All right. I would like to move that the 4 individuals that Madam Chair suggested be appointed to the committee. If there's any of the individuals on the call right now that would like to serve as interim chair, I'd be happy to include in the motion that they are the interim chair with the provision that the committee elect its own chair.
If
I
I
will
may, I
second.
would be interested in serving on this board as well, if you'll have me.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Lewis as well.
Definitely. Glad to have you.
I think we heard a second, but I'll also add to that second.
All right. And I will say that this committee will be able to add members to it. This is just to start the committee so they can help our candidates out. They're going to be starting their campaigns next month. Anyone opposed to those 5 individuals being appointed to the candidate support committee? All right, hearing none, I will go.
Point of information, Madam Chair, could you paste the names of the 5 individuals in the chat?
Sure.
I'm sure that would be helpful for everyone, including the minutes for later. And I think we have at least 2 of those individuals on the call right now, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Cholko. Would either of you be willing to serve as the interim chair until the committee can elect its own chair?
Don't all speak at once.
I can if
Mr.
need
Lewis
be.
posted into the chat that he could do it.
Oh, I spelled his name wrong. Did I?
I don't think Zoom sees Matt as having a microphone. Hopefully he can hear us. Matt, would you be willing to, I think James is indicating that he would also. So just to be clear, Mr. St. John, I'm not proposing that we select the permanent chair. I would propose that we select an interim chair who will serve until the committee can elect their own chair.
David Norton, CD7. Do the bylaws specify how this chair is to be elected, or does it say elected by the members of the committee?
Yes, elected by the members of the committee.
Okay.
Like if the bylaws don't state that, I don't think that they do. Then that, yes, my motion would be that the committee itself, the members of the committee, elect their own permanent chair.
Gotcha. I just didn't know when you were suggesting that, if that was per the bylaws, or if that was just your suggestion that they nominate their own chair.
Oh no, that's the motion would be that.
Got it.
Since this is only interim and I haven't seen anything from Matt yet, I do believe that Mr. Lewis did speak up that he was willing to help out as interim chair. I would like to amend my motion that Mr. Tim Lewis serve as interim chair of this committee until such a time that the committee members can elect their own chair,
I'll
permanent
second
chair.
I'll second that. CD1.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, Mr. Lewis, congratulations. I will make sure to get contact information to you for everyone else on the committee so that you can get in touch with them. All right, local affiliate committee. I don't have anyone to nominate for this. I don't know if anyone is interested in being the committee head.
I'm not making a motion at this time, but I would suggest that we handle that one the same way. That we nominate an interim chair to run it until a permanent chair can be elected. Just speaking for myself, I'd be willing to serve on the committee, but I don't know that I would have the time to serve as the chair.
Just expressing a similar sentiment to Paul. I don't think that I'd have the time to devote to being chair, but if we are looking for committee members, I'd also be willing to serve on the committee.
We'll also add to that committee. I'd be glad to join. CD1.
So this, just for clarification, seeing Mr. Lewis's question in the chat, this is, I believe, the affiliate support committee. Is that correct?
Yes.
It says local affiliate, just making sure.
We can
Okay.
also wait until January to appoint someone. Do some more research.
Is there anybody else who'd like to serve on that committee? I think only 3 right now. I think it'd be good to have at least 5.
I have one in mind right now, but I don't know if he would accept it or not. I'm messaging him right now. It's Brian Heiner.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and motion to table this until the next meeting, if we can spend a little bit of time in between now and then to, figure that out. That way we're not trying to message people at 9 o'clock at night.
Logan Hoy, CD8. I'll second Jason's motion there.
Anyone opposed?
Point of information, just real quick. Can this actually be brought up in an e-vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. All right, we will table this until a later date. All right. Recognition of support for Gormelts. Would anyone like to speak on this?
Point of information, is there a proposed resolution here?
I was asked to add it to the agenda. I don't remember who.
Well, if if nobody knows who added it, I think we're done.
Okay.
I motion to amend the agenda to strike recognition of support for Gourmelts, even though I personally feel strongly that I'm glad that they got their license and machines back.
Here, here.
I don't know what we're talking about right now.
Well, let me ask the point of information here. Is the intent to be able to say the Libertarian Party of Virginia would like to recognize that Gourmelts
The Libertarian
is
Party of
just saying is that the intent to just say, hey, great job, we're happy this happened? I mean, if so, yeah, I'll vote for that. But
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, maybe like anybody that can do press releases or anything along those lines, and that would be great. But
I'm thinking social media. I wouldn't even go as far as to.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe the intent.
All right, sure. I will move to have the Libertarian Party of Virginia acknowledge support for Gourmelts winning its case against the state.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No. All right. Any objections? All right. Mr. Lewis, if you want to go down the street, you can let them know. And we will post something on social media too. But does anyone have anything else they would like the board to entertain?
Paul Bracco, Vice Chair. I motion to adjourn.
Second. Dan John.
Anyone opposed to adjourning? All right. Meeting is adjourned at 9:04 p.m.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.